Game on, ladies and gentlemen! Division 7 action. The amateur scene in Heroes of the Storm is once again represented in today's game. We have a best of 3 on our hands with Hauki Gaming against Thomas and friends. Choo choo! And on the left side, LSK on Uther, Jeremu on Anduin, we have Samsam on ETC, Katistan Jack on Vala, Swan on Kel'Thuzad, and over to the right side, Sun Ephone on Kira. We have Fly 99% on Stukov. Blaze, played by that guy. Wika on Varian. Yeah, you are exactly right, my friend. And Pain Online on Jaina. Alright, let's go. Division 7. So once again looking at players that play on the, let's call it the lower level of Heroes of the Storm skill. Fly 99% tries to YOLO and Komitsudoku, but it doesn't quite work out. Pretty much sits at the end of the bridge and tries to solve a math puzzle, whereas the opponent is looking for the first kill. But it didn't really quite work out that way. But either way, as I mentioned, so this is the lowest league, the lowest division of Heroes Launch's amateur scene, which means that all the players are roughly, on average, between bronze and gold levels. So we're gonna have quite a bit of fun. There's gonna be a lot of weird talent choices. As you can tell, we already have some really weird team compositions, or someone else might call it North American team compositions. But as it stands, all players in Division 7 are very much so on board. So just for the 1 or 2 odd ones out there that always look to be offended on the behalf of someone else, nobody has a problem with this. And as I mentioned many times, I actually get replays and matches regularly sent to me by Division 7 teams that say like, hey, we just saw the last one that you commentated. First of all, it was super fun. Second of all, we learned a lot. So please, can you do it again and tell us what we should do there? But either way, as it happens, let's check out what's going on here. The first thing that I find interesting is that we actually have Uther for the blue team in in some kind of melee form. You can obviously now argue if he's really the main tank for the team or if it's ETC. I guess around level 10 when ETC goes into his stage dive, most likely we're gonna find out how they're trying to play that. But either way, having Uther now in that particular spot is a little bit weird because the last patch 49.1, which is actually the patch that we're on for this particular game here, changed Uther a little bit. So not only did he lose hit points, but he also lost some of his regeneration. So a lot of the aspects that gave him sustainability as a main tank are now gone. Now everything else is obviously still there. He has his heals, he has at the same time still a lot of CC that he can bring to the table, but he's definitely not as good in that position anymore as he was before. But technically there is now a double support on the side of the blue team, so they have a chance to really sustain themselves through a lot here. And oh my god! I don't believe it! Look at that! We actually have Taunt on level 4! I'm a fan already. Thomas and friends is amazing. Not only because we share a name, but at the same time I want to say that this is actually pretty cool to see. So as I've been ranting and raving on about, if you want to play Varian properly, you have to try and combo, and you have to try to actually play him with taunt and then drop either additional stuns or burst damage or both on the target. And that's pretty much... What the fuck was that? Did you really think that was hit? Okay, so much for that. Okay, I gotta stretch there for a second. I didn't expect that. Nobody did, but still. I don't understand that either. But okay, breathe, Khaldor, breathe. So coming back to my point. We have now, first of all, stun into taunt from jet propulsion into Varian, plus also silence from Stukov, and then Jaina with the damage. So there is actually a perfect combo that they just have to execute in order to get kills in. There's already a little bit of that setup happening, but they have to really coordinate those fights a little bit. And obviously we're still waiting for the taunt. Here comes ETC. That's a perfect taunt opportunity right there. There's the taunt. Where's the damage? Jaina is too late and Kira goes down. Again, execution is everything here. And it's not really a difficult combo, but they are starting to lose a lot of ground and they lose a lot of heroes too. Kira and Varian are both dead. But as you could tell right now, they need to be a little bit more cautious. Blizzard and Cone of Cold needs to be held back by Jaina a little bit longer so that they can actually wait for Varian to initiate and then get the kill. That last fight, honestly, should have heavily ended in favor of Thomas and Friends, because they had a great position there. Now Jaina decides to frontline this a little bit too hard and might actually die. But they're about to turn it around. Kira goes in deep, and they might still be able to make a bit of a play. Kira gets away, but there's the taunt and there's the kill. Nice follow-up from Stukov, by the way. I really like this one. Even without Jaina, they were able to make it happen. But she's already dropping the damage into the choke point. Kira comes in from the side too, as the blue team is still trying to win the objective. But they're now in a 5 versus 4, and you don't want to fight a talent, or sorry, a player down in the team fight. But with level 7, we also have now the double arrow. A lot of sustain, again, double support with Anduin and with Uther. The alliance is strong on that side. But they have to fall back, and now the red team has a chance to just regroup. But again, the combo is there, and they just need to practice this a little bit. As I said actually in the past, if you want to get better as an amateur team, one of the best things that you can actually do is you start with kill combos. You start with easy kill comps, and you just deviate away from them a little bit. You start with, for example, Stukov, Varian, and Jaina, and then you just play that in quick match as 3, and you just combo it off. Variant charges, taunts, Stukov with the silence, and Jaina with the damage at the same time. You get one kill after another, and that's how you play a couple of games until you have the cooldowns and the timing down. Then you start to just swap out heroes. Instead of, I don't know, Jaina, you play the same combo with Liming. Later on, you swap out Varian. You pick in Blaze, you pick in Muradin, something like this. And that's what they have to do right here, but Jaina goes down immediately. The positioning not really strong on her, a little bit too far out, but the rest of the team is still fighting. Stukov with the silence as they're attempting to make the play for the backline here. Vala is able to move out though, and so is ETC. The rest of the team goes in, and they try to get the kill against Kel'Thuzad, and he gets dropped. Kel'Thuzad is down, and it looks like Vala is going to die to Kira now too, and indeed she does. So the red team is starting to be heavily aggressive around this. And it pays off in kills, but they lost the objective. That was what Hauki Gaming successfully locked down for themselves here. They have the first raiders coming through. In this case, the cavalry. They're trying to play this. And, well, let's see how this is gonna work out with the pressure, because the question is still, can they take maybe one of the forts down here? When it comes to the talents, we have a little bit of a weird one here from Jaina again. So she goes into Fingers of Frost and into Arcane Intellect. It's a little bit of an overkill on that end. We usually don't see that all that much. The fort in the mid lane has already been taken down previously, but Kira and Varian are now trying to deal with the side lanes here, as the rest is pushing through the middle. And especially Vala could actually need a couple of additional stacks now. She's only on 4, which is actually not really that high if you consider that we had multiple fights now around the prisoner camps where there are very few minions, so you're more or less guaranteed that you get good hero hits in if you play your cards right there. But the level lead, thanks to the experience that was grabbed by Thomas and Friends, is now giving them an early level 10 talent, so the blue team has to fall back. And they didn't really get a whole lot out of the first objective. The side lanes are still totally intact, so that's a good point for Thomas and Friends here. They have now with this also Warbringer. Alright. Goes into the more aggressive variation. We have at the same time the final strike for Kira. And the blue team is just trying to get their own level 10 abilities so that they can go into the team fight on eye level with their opponent. But of course, this is also the patch where Blizzard adjusted the experience globes a little bit. So if you actually take anything down, any kind of minion, you get the XP more or less directly. So the range heroes are not as shit anymore as they were directly after the patch. Nice escape attempt here, and it might actually work out. Nope, that's done. Probably seals the deal here. Kira goes down. I gotta admit that it was a bit closer than I expected it to be. The initial flank here. If Uther ever flanks you successfully, you know you've done something wrong with your positioning. That shouldn't really happen. But as he comes in and gets the big flank in with the Divine Storm, Kira nearly gets out. Even the light bomb had to be used to make sure that she is not escaping. But now we have 5 kills against 3. Let's see how much damage they can do down here at the bottom of the map. For some reason that I cannot quite explain, we have actually Kel'Thuzad topside against Varian. ETC went into Mosh Pit, which is honestly odd. He should have gone into Stage Dive here. This is a big map where having a global can make the difference between you winning or losing the game. So can a fantastic Mosh, of course. But if you think it through for just a moment, if you really want to go for that one glorious Mosh, then you should go also Divine Storm on Uther. So they miss out on that combo, and I would have said either go into Divine Storm plus Mosh Pit or go into Stage Dive in the first place. But as it stands, Stukov is down, so is Vala, but the Mosh is there, and they all run into it. So, nobody dies, by the way. 4-man Mosh and nobody dies. But hey, he made them dance, and that's all that he can really ask for here at the end of the day, I suppose. So, ETC is a happy camper, but talking about him being happy, he barely got out of there. But yeah, in case that you actually want to improve a bit on combos like this, as I said, if you want to go into the Mosh Pit, then take Divine Shield with you. If you have Uther already in a double support setup, that guarantees you a good Mosh if you can actually slide in. Because a Mosh like the one that we just observed should honestly never happen. And if you also want to play the map, which on this one I would highly recommend, since this is a very big map, where you can get huge macro advantages over your opponent, then Stage Dive is really the weapon of choice on ETC, so that he can give you a bit more experience sitting on the side lane before he joins the fight. But either way, this is not quite the setup that we're seeing here. For now, we have level 13 talents on both sides, and we are waiting again for that lockdown. Varian is in trouble, though. Whereas the silence, it's a bit too late. Jaina comes in, and they run into the same problem that we talked about earlier. Final strike. Holy shit. Kira lined them up and took them down. And this should honestly be a kill. And it is. Anduin goes down, and that is 3 kills against 1. But I'm coming back to my initial point. So they need to play this a little bit more disciplined, the red team is, if they really want to get the full value out of the combo. What you can currently see is that they oftentimes miss part of the equation. Either Jaina isn't there yet, and they have to wait for her, but they engage into the fight early, and they lose Varian too quickly. Jaina may be frontlining a little bit too hard. For example, right now, she should really be a little bit more over to the right side. We sometimes have also Stukov not following up properly. Those are all small things that really matter if you're trying to execute a combo like this. And they get a lot of good kills in, and they are still ahead. They still have also the lead in experience. But it's things to definitely pay attention to if you want to improve on these plays. There should be a taunt, there's the damage, and that was a great setup. Not executed perfectly, but much better than what we've seen previously. So that I actually like. And we have the same combo up in just another few seconds, and they know that of course too. That's a glorious thing about going into some of these taunt setups, that you have a very low cooldown on taunt that you can then use with basic abilities of heroes like Jaina and Stukov to get full value. And they claim the objective. They dropped ETC low as the fight started. The blue team didn't really have a chance to go in and do a lot of damage. So here we go. At the same time, Vala isn't really sure what talent to take on level 13 as it seems, and I would heavily recommend Gloom at this point. You have a double support already with you, so Siphoning Arrow is not really a talent that you need. But having a little bit more resistance against especially the spell damage from Jaina, but also others, would probably be really a good help. And Tempered by Discipline is not really the best choice in this case either. And Kira gets a little bit locked down though. There's another stun, and there's the taunt. Nicely done, and that's the kill. Varian again with the full value here of his level 4. The follow-up this time was there, so the damage is strong. Again, ETC is keeping them dancing. There's a last strike, and it actually connects with Kel'Thuzad and takes him down. Varian jumps in, gets another taunt through, and that's another quick kill. Blue team absolutely crushing it right now, and Vala makes the wrong choice. Tempered by Discipline, I'm sorry to say, but that is not going to give her a lot of value. First of all, it already means that you have to have 10 stacks of Hatred, and I don't want to be... yeah, well, I guess at this point we have to just face facts. There's the taunt? So, first of all, Vala, so far in this game, is very likely in a lot of these teamfights not running around with 10 stacks on the Hatred. Second of all, even after that, she still needs to get additional auto attacks in, and so far, I haven't really looked at Vala and said, oh my god, this is an auto attack monster. So this is something where higher level players will get a little bit more value out of it. But even then, I would say that Tempered by Discipline is not gonna be your first choice here. Going into Gloom would definitely be much better for Vala in this setup that she's running off against. Especially given the fact that she has 2 supports right now with the team. But now we have level 16 talents in the hands of Thomas and friends. They are ahead with 10 kills against 7. And we have them also with really good damage output on the side of Jaina, 45,000. And I'm actually quite happy that despite the fact that it's obvious that we're looking at lower level play here, but despite the fact that this is the case, we still see very nice attempts to make this variant setup work. Look at it again. Once again, another kill on ETC. He goes in, he gets the taunt through, and they get a double kill behind it. And that's exactly those fights that we want. They are ahead, they are forcing fights, they're being aggressive, they know they have an additional talent, so they invade the opponent's camp and make their plays right there. Now in this position, with one hero taken down, you have to ask yourself, what do we do to make sure that we're getting even farther ahead? And they're actually going straight for the boss. Which in and of itself is not a bad move. It is telegraphed to the opponent though, because of the walls. So that is one of the things to also note here. But they're actually doing fairly well with this, and ETC isn't there. He doesn't have stage dive, so there's no real threat. Vala now with the Seething Hatred on level 16, by the way. So we don't see that build too often, even though, of course, it is the talent that synergizes the best with the arrow build. At the same time, in this case, I could, for example, totally see her going to Frost Shot to have a bit more control over the fight. But if you're just trying to maximize your damage output, then Seething Hatred can be a strong talent on level 16. Especially if you are not having a lot of high hit point frontline tanks against you, whereas Manticore and Farfly Quiver would be the better option. And it's the option that you see the most also in the more professional scene. I mean, granted, we don't really have a real pro scene anymore, but the semi-pros at least go for that usually. So with this, we have again our little setup down at the bottom of the map. But now that the camp is up, the red team actually says, you know what, guys, we just go for this one. We're just going to take another objective, and that's all we need. Let them defend the boss. And they actually try to do exactly that. Monster Hunter, really helpful here for Vala, as she's coming through. And it actually seems, I mean, just catching up on that, but Vala apparently is a bot at this point. So it seems like they had some disconnect problems and had to play with a bot here at times. So that's actually quite interesting. That might have happened a little bit earlier and also explained why that choice into the level 13 talent came actually this late. Unfortunate for them if they actually had to play through with the bot the entire time, but let's see what they can do with it. But now there's another taunt and another kill. Double kill at that with Kel'Thuzad and Vala mowed down. And with ETC now also dying, and that's the third hero, this is not only going to be an easy objective, but they should be able to go through the bottom keep even before that's the case. So now 7 against 15 kills in this game. And when it comes to the output and sheer damage, it's once again Jaina and also Kira that really bring the numbers in. And by the way, Blaze hasn't died yet. And I also want to show real quickly that he went actually into bunker. Normally on this level, unfortunately, we oftentimes have to deal with combustion stuff, but not so in this particular game, so he actually goes straight in for that. But here comes another setup attempt against Uther. Uther already body blocked, and he's going to die too. Uther goes down. That is the end of the keep, and I would be honestly shocked if we're not going to see the game itself end here. This is the first map in a best of 3 series, so this is going to be super important for the red team to get a bit of a lead, but especially given that Vala apparently for quite some duration of this one was a bot, this is quite not necessarily over. And Vala actually decided it's time to defend the top lane. Not quite sure what exactly brought the bot to that conclusion, because the game is currently being lost at the bottom of the map. But as it stands, we have our victory. The snipe comp that Thomas and friends was trying to execute here worked wonders. And that brings us into game number 2 with the lead for Thomas and friends here in this Division 7 best of 3 series. Game number 2, ladies. Let's go. Ready to rumble for our second game here. Apparently a bit of a problem with the disconnect here in the game number 1, but already at this point the red team was on a good way to win the first map. Now we're going to find out if they can make this a quick 2-0 or if Hauki Gaming is going to come back here. On the blue team side here in Towers of Doom, LSK on Greymane, Jeromo on Anduin, Katistan Jack on Melganix, Sam on Diablo, and again Kel'Thuzad, played by Swan. On the right side, Thomas and friends with the lead in this series now, with Sun Efone on Sylvanas, Fly 99% on Alexstrasza. We have Kenley J on Blaze, and Paint Online on Jaina once again, with Weaker on ETC. Everybody going straight for the bush play, hoping that someone on the other side would actually sit in there, which wasn't the case. And we have a couple of talents that immediately need to be pointed out. First of all, we have the block party on ETC, so they definitely are a little bit afraid of that Grey main on the other side, and again, Mal'Ganis is obviously present there as well. That is an interesting one! I'm actually amazed that Greymane didn't get that kill. For some reason, Sylvanas had a death wish and was just YOLOing straight into him. That should have been a kill for sure. I have no idea how it's possible that he didn't grab the kill there. That was actually insane. One more auto attack and he would have gotten it. A little bit of stutter stepping would have definitely sealed the deal there, but as it stands, no kill just yet. But it could turn out. Yeah, the cocktail of Greymane gets the kill against Alexstrasza. But I was talking about more talents than only that. If you're looking towards the level 1 on Diablo, the one thing that immediately stands out is that he has Devil's Due here on level 1. We don't see that on big maps all that much, honestly. It's more so a talent that if you see it, is being played on maps like Tomb of the Spider Queen, where you can easily bounce between two lanes, for example, and have a lot more globes to work with. But not quite what we're seeing here. Besides that, on the globe talent side, Pain Online has actually not gotten a single one, so the Fingers of Frost are currently not supported at all by this. A bit unfortunate for him. It's kind of cool that we have Kel'Thuzad again, so apparently Swan is just really full on board with this Kel'Thuzad play so far. We're trying to go for some decent combos in the last game, but it didn't quite work out the way that they intended. But they have a pretty beefy setup right now. I mean, having a frontline with Diablo and Mal'Ganis is quite powerful. On the other side, ETC and Blaze also quite strong, with decent damage dealers behind. Question is just how can they coordinate that. And I gotta say, I actually like the way that the teams have been drafting so far. For Division 7 teams, this is pretty impressive because there is actually some thought behind it, as you could already see. Combos from the red team in game number 1, now still trying to go for a well-rounded composition. It might sound a little bit silly, but oftentimes you don't really see that in Division 7. It's very often just teams trying to pick some kind of preference heroes and then trying to make a combo with that, and most of the time that really doesn't work out. So seeing them heading into a composition that has a clear idea of what they want to try and do with it is actually pretty cool. The Jaina build, again, still a little bit weird to see her go into both of the talents here on level 1 and level 4 with mana management, so normally this is a different approach that we see here. We also have Sylvanas. Ah, yeah. Oh, what? She had 5 hit points and then was healed. Damn, son. That Sylvanas is certainly living a dangerous life, but she's able to make it work. And tries to go for the next phase check here, but didn't quite work out that way. So 2 shrines or 2 altars have been claimed by Hauki Gaming, so they're a little bit ahead here, as Thomas and friends are still able to grab 1 altar, but they might not be able to get their own camp. Here comes the attack at the bottom. Dragon Queen is being used, and their camp is stolen. Pumpkins for the blue team. Yeah, nice save here by Jeremu. In comes the slide though, and Kel'Thuzad has a problem, but he actually doesn't get slowed. Didn't get slowed by Jaina here. Jaina with a couple of panic hits. Cone of Cold into the empty space to zone the opponent out, I suppose. But yeah, that didn't quite work. So in the meantime, we have Mal'Ganis sitting in the middle of the map here, just trying to push that out, and yeah, fully oblivious to the fact that the 3 heroes are rotating towards him. Jaina decided to not really try and help them with the kill because she's more interested in defending the bot lane. For good reason, you want to hold on to that bell tower. They gave up too much of it already, but the blue team is overstaying a little bit. Yeah, Jaina has that problem that with the build that she's currently using, she doesn't have those consistent frost bolts that she can shoot out to keep the opponent slowed and control them a little bit better. So they're actually able to walk away from this one, even though they had absolutely no right to make that retreat happen successfully. Greymane has also shown now how much he can actually do on structure, so this is him just shredding through that bottom bell tower, and once that you lose control of that, your map control gets lost pretty quickly, so that's another big problem. But again, let's have a quick look at the camp situation once more. We are seeing the blue team more and more eager to grab their own pumpkins to apply more pressure towards the bottom bell tower and finally convert it. And in addition to that, they have a level lead and they have the only kill in the game thus far. So now as everybody jumps up to the top, there's again the first jet propulsion connecting with 2. The power side of ETC is a bit too low, and they get actually thrown over. Malgan is all the way in the back line, zoning them out, and that might be a kill, and indeed is against Blaze. Weaker on ETC is trying to get out of here, but in the 4 versus 5, they have to let this one slide as well. I'm actually a bit surprised that they zone it in the first place and that they go for the hits here. I think they could have just delayed this a bit longer, try to move in, take the bell tower, and then retreat and then channel through. Might be a bit greedy, but I honestly think that would be easily accomplished by them if they really wanted to. Bell tower is already taken. Have to just buy a little bit more time. But you look at experience, and they are 2 levels ahead right now. So, Hauki Gaming coming back with a vengeance after game number 1, at least in the early game here. Doing exceptionally well. 42 stacks on Sylvanas, just to keep you guys updated with the stack amounts. 9 on Kel'Thuzad, which means that he's still waiting for quite a lot until he finally gets his increased spell power by 75%. So, it's going to take a bit. Greyman obviously has been slightly touched by Blizzard in the last patch too. So if he goes into Cursed Bullet, he gets an insane cooldown reduction on level 20. And some of the adjustments that Blizzard made to level 20 talents are just fucking nuts, seriously. It's like them honestly looking at this and like, oh, what can we make Imba today? After they had already that interesting change to Nazebo's level 1 talent that they, in the next patch, then quickly reverted and softened a little bit. They now made some incredible changes with cooldown reduction and damage outputs to Greymane's level 20, and also when we're talking about Uther, for example. So I'm pretty sure that we're going to see adjustments there soon as well, but for now the teams can definitely play around quite a bit of that. Pumpkins don't make it through, so that's a big one. Here comes the shots fired though, 2 make it through, and that's now 26 against 36 points on the core. And a 2-level lead around level 10. And guys, this should be a double altar for the team in blue. Hauki Gaming should be able to take both. It is beyond me why nobody is going up to the top right to deal with ETC. This is insane. You have level 10, your opponent does not. Why do you allow them to get an altar? That makes 0 sense whatsoever. So they actually let it slide. They bring the opponent down to 21 points now. But the entire advantage that they have doesn't really work all that well here. They could have easily rotated 1, maybe even 2 heroes topside to deal with this. And would have still had enough to defend the bottom bell tower in addition to that. So that's definitely a big problem. They just got 3 shots fired against themselves and missed out on 5 that they could have easily gotten to drop on the opponent's score too. Now we have level 10 versus level 10. We also have an attempt at a kill. And that's the end of Sylvanas. Sylvanas goes down. Ooh, and so does... yeah, Blazing Greymane is alive. Greymane makes it. Sylvanas down. Blaze down. He went combustion. That's why he got killed. That's karma. The karma train has hit him pretty quickly. Basically, the Nexus said, okay, Blaze is gonna survive this one. Then it was like, what the fuck? He just picked combustion? Okay, screw you, buddy. Bam, dead. That's exactly what happened there. There can be no other explanation. So, yeah, no bunker, no win, my friend. 54 stacks for Sylph now. Gets a little bit more here, but let's have a quick look at the damage output. Yes, she indeed is at 28,000. Top damage dealer in the game. And tries to get a little bit more. Already moves forward, but there's level 13 talents now for Hauki Gaming. And the red team, they've heard somewhere that you win games on Towers of Doom by controlling the bot lane. So they're just sitting there with everything they have, and they're just saying, control the bot lane. Whatever you do, don't lose bot lane control. And Diablo! Oh! How do you like your Sylvanas medium rare? Again, the ETC mosh pit, and it's a big one once more, but as in the last game, it seems like mosh pits don't do anything here. Shots get fired again as Pumpkins make it through, so the control here isn't really all that great from Thomas and friends at this point. Doesn't really seem to be their map. 33 points against 13. That kinda hurts. And now, of course, they are taking even more Pumpkins, and Mal'Ganis is moving straight between the lanes again. This is what you want to do. You want to have a hero that can rotate between the 2 lanes. But this one also showcases pretty much why on this map, on the side lane, you oftentimes have a hero like Leoric. he is just pretty slow on those rotations. He doesn't have that wave clear that you normally want to have from a side laner. The wave clear that Blaze, for example, has. So something that the red team should do is not keep Blaze here, keep Blaze in the middle and have Blaze rotate. And Blaze in that case would have to not attack the opponent's hero, but just burn the minion wave down and then rotate to the next lane and make that play over and over again. That would result with them catching up in experience, because Mal'Ganis can't match that. So instead they now have Blaze at the bottom of the map because they hope that he can help with a poke bit against the bell tower, I suppose. But this is not really a good look for them, because ETC did not go into stage dive. If ETC had a global, that would be a completely different conversation, but he doesn't. So ETC is kind of needed down here to make sure that not more of those pumpkins make it through and attack the core. Since by now they've received, I think it was 4 or 5 shots already through pumpkins moving into the kill zone alone. So that's a big problem. So definitely an issue on the side of Thomas and friends when they make their setup here. Either you keep ETC in with stage dive, then he can rotate, and if not, you want him down here and you want to have Blaze rotating between the 2 lanes. Also, ETC didn't go into Echo Paddle, for example, which means that his wave clear is also rather low. Double channel, kada bing, bada boom, and they go down to 3%. Again, they let ETC do this. I do not know why. They are behind in levels and talents, the red team, that is. So that could have been an easy play here. But it's working either way. 30 points against 3. Could they play cleaner? They definitely could. There's multiple ways how they could pull it off, as I already pointed out. But they're still winning the game here quite easily, because the red team is just sitting there and saying, like, we can't break through that. And in order to break through this, they have to somehow make it down to the fort, and that doesn't happen anytime soon. And as you can tell, there's even more experience. It's kind of cute to me how Mal'Ganis is trying to push these lanes out. I always just compare that to a normal hero that we could have in this position, like Leoric, like Blaze, like, I don't know, Malthael, for example, that can actually pressure those lanes a little bit. If that was the case here, the red team would have completely lost any kind of resemblance of having a chance to fight back here. But there's now 3 levels behind, still lacking an entire talent. And it seems like they're trying to make a stand, but in comes the attack from Greymane again. Walks through all the damage, and all of a sudden in the middle of it realizes that it was probably a bad choice to walk a little bit deeper into the fight. So Mal'Ganis is still at the top, which means this is a 5 versus 4, and the red team still can't do anything. They haven't gotten a single kill yet in this game. Not one. And they're trying, but it seems to be in vain. More damage is coming in. Mal'Ganis moves down as a double altar gets activated, which means that in a few seconds they need just to get 1. And with ETC now dead, it seems there's not going to be a big problem in accomplishing that. Kel'Thuzad actually never completed his own quest on the baseline. Sylvanas gets taken down again, so she gets grilled by Diablo. And Mal'Ganis is just sitting at the side like, guys, I got this, I got this. I do your thing, I'm winning the game for us. It's fine, it's totally fine. So Mal'Ganis with 4,000 hero damage, just rotating the entire game, and this is it. We are going into game number 3 as Hauki Gaming equalizes the series with 8 kills against 0 against Thomas and friends. The final map coming up next. Game number 3, the final map, everybody. The Amateur League continues. Our Division 7 match with an average here in skill level between bronze and gold, as you might have already picked up on. And as it turns out, Hauki Gaming coming back into the series with a pretty dominant victory on the last map, map number 2, Towers of Doom. And they picked the exact same combo for Infernal Shrines. For some reason, Thomas and friends didn't really think that they need to destroy that in the draft, so let's see if they can cope with it this time a little bit better. Once more, we have LSK on Greymane, Katist Jack on Mal'Ganis, Sam on Diablo, Jeremu on Anduin, and Swan on Kel'Thuzad. And on the right side, Thomas and friends with Sam Efone on Hanzo, Fly 99% on Stukov, Kenley J on Zarya, Pain Online on Reyna, and Wika on ETC. So it's a bit of a different setup now for the red team. They have an auto attacker with this. Ooh, and that's already a little bit weird. Going into the Veterans Max, man. is usually a big mistake. This is honestly not a talent that is going to give you a lot of value. Ace in the hole is just better when you can rely on slows and stuns, and let's just face it, with heroes like Stukov and ETC around, they would probably be much better off to go into that, for the team fights at least, that is. But Jimmy already gets attacked at the bottom of the map, and with that quick kill, we have the blue team taking a lead. Now, I could have totally seen a Valor pick, for example, for the red team, if they were worried about getting a good damage dealer that could deal with, well, Diablo and also Mal'Ganis through auto attacks. Especially after level 16, Valor is of course fantastic in that role, but even before that, she adds a lot on Inferno Shrines. Especially since she, of course, also has the multi-shot that works very well on any kind of objective. But the setup that they're running here is an interesting one. They are starting to lose more heroes, though, if they don't pay attention, and Hanzo barely gets out. It seems like Hauki Gaming at this point is pretty much relying heavily on playing with 2 tanks at the front line so that they have a very beefy setup. And they have now at the top side also, again, Mal'Ganis, at least for the early game, and trying to deal with the side lane clear. You can already tell that it's a little bit awkward right now for the red team. Again, and this is a situation that they put themselves in multiple times now. Because they have ETC on the side lane, they also have to have, well, the entire rotation happen without any kind of hero that can hold the front line. Zarya alone is not really in a great spot to do that, so they can't really execute a lot of 4-man pressure down here, because their 4-man is just incredibly weak compared to their opponent, who are running a proper tank in that lineup. So that means that they have to give up a lot, and that is not only 1 kill against Jimmy, that's also the camp that has now been taken, another one on the left side, and in theory the blue team could even push over towards the right side to take that one down. So that brings me back to a point about team compositions. Normally when you're trying to play a Zarya comp with a tank, you're oftentimes adding another melee hero as well. So you have 2 melees, you have a main tank, you have a side laner, and then you add Zarya into the mix on top of that. And that's not happening here. There are a couple of exceptions where you can play with an additional 2 damage dealers. Battlefield of Eternity is sometimes a map where that can happen, but generally speaking, you still want to have in your 4-man a proper tank, and Zarya just doesn't really fit that bill. So now they are definitely slightly in trouble with this. But in team fights, it could definitely be a different story, because then they can bring the gang together and see what they can actually pull off with it, and they need to do that right now. So at this point, let's see how they're going to turn this around, because they kind of have to. We're actually seeing ignore all distractions taken at this point from Hanzo after redemption, but they're giving up a lot of time as Hauki Gaming is getting ahead in minion stacks, and now they are pretty much looking at hero kills. Yeah, Mal'Ganis is already sitting at the side, trying to zone them down. Zarya is just firing away here, but so far she hasn't actually gotten any stacks for this one either. So this is starting to become a little bit awkward. Finally one acquired, but looks like ETC is going to fall as the entire blue team focuses in on him. A good silence from Stukov, but he just comes a bit too late, and that's the end of ETC. ETC is already down. It's a huge problem. They go up against 2 heavy hit point tanks on the blue team side, and ETC just doesn't have that. He can't brawl with them the entire time. They need to get these kills a little bit quicker if they want to be successful here. And that is quite tricky now. So for now we have actually level 7 against level 6. This is not going to be an advantage that they have for long, but it is enough to give them the Arcane Punisher without any additional resistance from the red team side. So now the opportunity for the blue team to maybe even take that forward. And there it is, the problem. The jump gets triggered right in front of the gate, and again, I've talked about this many times, and I have to highlight it again. You need to fall behind your gate when your opponent has the Punisher, and then trigger the Punisher jump with a ranged attack and bait it over the wall. Then you have an easy time defending it, and they failed to do that. The jump happened before the wall, just in front of it, and now they get the entire fort. That was definitely avoidable, and that was a huge mistake now on the side of Thomas and Friends. It's honestly one of these things that is incredibly important, that you try to learn the maps a little bit, how the objective works and how you best play against it. And as I said many times, if you lose the objective, fall behind the wall, behind the gate, wait until the Punisher approaches, give the Punisher vision on a hero behind the wall by attacking with that hero through either a spell or a ranged auto attack that will proc the stun, you bait it over, Punisher finds himself in this space right here and gets attacked by the fort, gets attacked by the towers. The opponent is stuck on the outside, so you have freedom to attack it and try and take it down. They missed that, and this is a huge problem right now for the red team, because they just lost a lot of control in the middle, and they're now also losing. They're losing on all fronts. They are behind in kill, they're behind in structures, they are behind in experience. If they, the blue team is a little bit more aggressive than I thought they would be, but then again, they're also in a 3 versus 4 situation to their advantage, so that's what they're trying to take this fight. There's 2 heroes defending the middle. I don't know why that happens either, because there's obviously 1 hero missing topside, as Mal'Ganis is trying to get the experience there. But they are starting to fall apart a little bit. And one of the things that I want to highlight with this is that matters could be worse if Hauki Gaming would play a different solo laner. They have Mal'Ganis in that solo lane position, and he can definitely work there, but if you go for a hero that has better wave clear, they could expose and exploit those mistakes on the macro level that Thomas and Friends makes way more than they currently do. But there's at least the kill, so Thomas and Friends are starting to fight back. Choo-choo, the pain train is coming! And it took down Anduin right there. Yep, well, with Anduin down, that level 10 ability is now for them though. Mal'Ganis is starting to go straight into the middle again and trying to push that out too. And the rotational play. Experience globes are still there, and, well, unfortunately, that experience globe change makes it so that Mal'Ganis is still able to catch all of this. Unfortunate, because that change by Blizzard rewards sloppy rotations. And that rotation was a little bit off there of what you want to do normally. More aggression at the bottom of the map now, so in the second attempt we are seeing Hauki Gaming taking the fort. 10 stacks, by the way, only for Jim Raynor. 7 only for Zarya, so the stacking is not really going well on the red team side. But they have level 10. And that's more important than anything else. Because now with level 10, they have an opportunity to go straight in for this. Again, the mosh pit, by the way. So again, we don't see any plays around global abilities to try and maybe catch up in experience and control the macro game a little bit more. But we have an attempt to go for the camp here. That's also a little bit of a ballsy one, I gotta say. They are totally willing to force a fight, and, well, they're going for it. Short distance arrow from Hanzo. That didn't give them as much value, but here comes the party time again. They're trying to get a kill, but they just can't. The interrupt is there. ETC is trying to get out here. Everybody presses his R button really quickly. Nobody dies. Not a lot of coordination that happened in this fight, but we still have that shrine active. And both teams have a fountain where they can tap. And this is honestly where ETC should be headed now. If he has the cooldown on the fountain, that's a different story, but I'm not quite sure about that. Either way, they need to somehow get in there, because the blue team has taken control of the position again. They're starting to make the play. Here comes the wall stun, and the lightning breath, and down they go. Zarya is dead, so is ETC, and the red team is on the move. Blue team, again, they could do a bit better on the rotation, they could do a bit better on the wave clear, but generally speaking, what they're doing right now is really working against the red team, which is desperately trying to get something done. And I come back to my frontline analysis from earlier today. They would be well advised in future games to go for a hyper carry and then put another damage dealer into the mix here too, because this setup just doesn't really properly work for them. ETC has a lot of problem. They're having trouble going through the setup with Mal'Ganis and with Diablo here. And even with successful mosh pits, they have problems getting those kills in. Zarya not getting her quest completed now by the 10-minute mark nearly is one part of the problem. She only has 3,000 damage. That is not really where you want to be with Zarya at this moment. So it seems like that pick does not really work out for them. They stack up, the Punisher jumps in again, gets another couple of good hits out there. Greymane comes in, could look for a kill too. Mal'Ganis isn't even here. This is a 5 versus 4 with Punisher, of course, since Mal'Ganis is at the bottom of the map. But Jimmy goes down. Jimmy is dead, taken apart by Kel'Thuzad. 5 kills against 1 overall. And Mal'Ganis is just, again, side laning it the entire time. And this is one of the main reasons why I also advocate the entire time for a different side laner. If Mal'Ganis would participate in a lot of the team fights, it might be a bit of a different story. But he's currently sitting at 8,000 damage because he's pretty much only sitting at the side lane and nothing else. And then you want to have a hero in that spot that has better wave clear so that you can put more macro pressure onto your opponent's lanes and win more heavily through experience. Which again, they already do, but if they want to improve here even more, Leo would be a good pick if they have a Leo player. Blaze would be a solid pick in that role. Still gives you quite a bit of sustain in the team fight then as well, especially if you go for Blaze, but you have an easier time going for wave clear and putting more pressure onto the opponent's team. So Pain Online is currently sitting at that side lane again. He's sitting at 14,000 damage. But Zarya, by the way, has less damage than Stukov at this point. So that pick just doesn't work out for them. In theory, Zarya can definitely play it in this role. The problem is you need to be sure that your Zarya player is able to also really get value out of her. And that's currently not really the case. So other heroes in that setup would have probably worked a lot better. Now Jimmy is also taken out top lane, and just to realize how deep they went. The blue team is fully aware that they can pretty much go wherever they want without being punished there whatsoever. So they're just going deep for these. Another bullet actually connects as Greymane makes his move. 13 talents are now in, so even talent fights are possible. But then a 4 versus 5. They lost Jimmy, so there's a big issue for them right now. So they're starting to move in again, trying to make that little setup. You already have now the lingering spines for Stukov, so not trying to lock anybody down with a virulent reaction here either. And with level 16 being so close for Hauki Gaming, the next Punisher should actually be fought over with a talent advantage on their side, which would also give Diablo even more of a threat level, because he will most likely pick up Domination. Yep, there it is, so that he can pretty much start to one-shot people. Level 16, Power of Ice Crown currently taking here, right? It's a little bit more of a damage output approach from Swan at this point, hoping for that. 19 stacks only, again, for Reyna. It's not a talent that works out in a normal game, and this is a very good indicator as of why. Because throughout the entire fight, when we're seeing someone like ETC make a move, when we're having Stukov make his plays, maybe an arrow shot out from Hanzo, that's where your alternate level 1 talent would be much better for Jimmy. But here comes the fight. Level 60 talents are in. There's a quick Hyperion release. ETC already moving back. A little bit of extra damage being dished out here. Could control Mal'Ganis, and they try and do exactly that, but Jimmy in trouble. They still save him for now. And there's the Lightning Breath just as we have the dance party starting, and Kel'Thuzad starts to wreck them. 3 heroes down. Kel'Thuzad getting massive amounts of damage in now. So does Greymane. There's just not enough stuns on their side to really make anything happen. They have ETC, but he's mostly sliding away in these fights. Zarya isn't able to provide enough, and they just need a bit more survivability to dish that out, or have stuns and control attacks against Greymane and Kel'Thuzad. Both of them are squishy. Both of them could be attacked if they had the proper damage set up, but they don't. 10 kills against 1. And honestly, thinking about the entire way that this best of 3 has gone so far, game number 1, obviously that disconnect on Vala made a difference. But if you think about the setup that Thomas and Friends was running there, where they were really hoping to get kill combos off, with burst damage from Jaina, a lockdown through Taunt Varian, that worked by far the best for them. And this is something that I'm missing here a little bit. In game number 2 and game number 3, there was just nothing where they had the same amount of direction. The same game plan, where they just were trying to get those kills and sync up abilities. So that's something that in game number 1 they definitely were trying to do, and then afterwards they completely let that one slide. And they don't have to pick Varian per se or Jaina per se, but there's definitely a lot of heroes that have similar approaches to this, have a bit of a similar idea, and that's what they probably should have done here in order to be successful. Right now, they lose ETC again. There comes a really good Hyperion though to zone them out even more. And it buys them some time, but with 26 points on the objective against 0, you can already imagine where this is headed. This is not looking good for Thomas and Friends at all. The Frozen Punisher is being picked up, and this is an absolute slaughter here. Total destruction from Hauki Gaming, as they have now 11 kills against 1. They even take the camp at the bot lane. The wall is already gone, so you can't even bait the Punisher over, which is another problem. And this, yeah, if this isn't a kill against the keep, then I don't know what is. That's a 3-4 level lead that we're looking at. Thomas and Friends is just getting crushed here. And Kel'Thuzad, I mean, this is like one of the first times that we have Kel'Thuzad being this successful, even in Division 7. Another mosh pit, this time against 3 heroes, but Kel'Thuzad, just as we talk about him, comes in, steps up for the team, interrupts the mosh. They get the kill against ETC, the keep is down, and everything is dying. I mean, really everything. There's another keep that gets attacked in the middle of the map now. Hanzo is dead, so is Reyna. And this is going to be game. They're going to go straight for the core now. A 2-1 victory for Hauki Gaming as they make a reverse sweep happen and take down Thomas and friends on Infernal Shrines. GG and well played as Hauki Gaming secures themselves a victory in Division 7 of Heroes Launch.gg.